In this short video, we're going to discuss Herzberg's two-factor theory of motivation. Now, the two-factor theory was developed by a psychologist by the name of Frederick Herzberg in 1959, and it really is an adaptation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs if you're familiar with that particular motivational theory. And so what Herzberg did is he actually did a survey of about 200 different accountants during the 1950s. And he was specifically looking for two different things. He wanted to find out which job-related factors led to extreme satisfaction in the job, and also which job-related factors led to extreme dissatisfaction with the job. And he determined that there were a number of different factors that led to obviously extreme satisfaction, meaning that you would be very happy with your particular position, likelihood increasing your motivation in the work that you're actually doing. On the other end, there were certain factors that existed that provided extreme levels of dissatisfaction, at least when taken away, meaning that you did not have those in the organizational setting. And so the factors that needed to be present to ensure at least some type of reasonable level of satisfaction, Herzberg coined to be hygiene factors. These also may be referred to as maintenance factors. They use the terms interchangeably. And so hygiene factors are factors that are part of your job that need to be present to ensure at least a reasonable level of satisfaction. Meaning that these particular factors weren't going to make you extremely satisfied. But if they were not present, they could be a source of what we call extreme dissatisfaction. Okay? And so some of those particular factors included things like benefits, things like pay, and job security. Also included maybe friends in the workplace, right? Kind of those social needs. And obviously a few others. And so the argument that Herzberg made was that according to his research, that if you do not have maybe good benefits, reasonable pay, some sort of job security, maybe some level of interaction in the workplace, it would cause you to be extremely dissatisfied, meaning that you would be more likely to not be motivated on the job and maybe look for a different career. But if they were present, right, they wouldn't cause you to experience extreme levels of satisfaction. You would merely just be, kind of be sufficient because it isn't causing that degree of tension. So once again, they have to be present. Otherwise, workers are extremely dissatisfied. But their mere presence in the workplace doesn't produce extreme levels of satisfaction or extreme levels of motivation. Now, the other end are what we call motivational factors. And these were all specifically the factors that the accountants described as very motivating. They produced a great deal of satisfaction for them in the workplace. And so we equate that to, well, how well do they motivate you on the job, assuming that they are actually present. And so these factors contribute a great deal to satisfaction in the workplace. And so if these factors aren't present, they wouldn't necessarily cause an extreme level of dissatisfaction. But if they were present, they could be the source of a great deal of satisfaction in the workplace and motivation in the particular workplace. So a couple of examples of things that would be extremely motivating are things like recognition, right? Being recognized for a job well done, especially among your peers. Certain achievements or a need for achievement, opportunity for advancement, right? Promotions and lateral opportunities and those sorts of things, as well as challenging work. And so feeling that the work that you do in some way is fulfilling and the contributions I'm making have some type of impact, but they also cause me to kind of stretch myself in a way so that I maybe learn new skills and it's not that easy to attain. And so what Herzberg was basically stating is that if these factors, right, recognition, achievement, advancement, challenging work, if they were not present, it wasn't going to produce extreme levels of dissatisfaction. You merely did not have those. However, if they were present, then they obviously contributed to satisfaction in the workplace to a very good degree. Now, if you look at these, they very much so resemble Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're familiar with that particular concept, right, you have Maslow's hierarchy of needs is essentially a pyramid of different needs that Maslow argued that we as individuals, not necessarily just in a workplace, needed to achieve in order to essentially be happy with ourselves and to be motivated. And so we're motivated to fulfill these particular needs. And Maslow coined that there were 5 levels of needs essentially, and they had to be fulfilled in a specific order. And if they weren't, then we would have to regress to some of the lower level needs. And so just kind of briefly, you have your physiological needs, right? Things like food, water, shelter, oxygen. And we have safety and security needs, right? So like job security, for example, not only just physical security, like free from physical harm, but also financial security and those emotional security, those types of things. Also, we have social needs, right? So in the workplace, obviously having some type of meaningful interaction with others outside of a work context, having friends, family, people that we feel some type of relationship with or attachment to that we can socialize with on a regular basis. We also have esteem needs, right? So essentially our need to view ourselves as, somewhat important. And so we try to fulfill those in various ways. And then lastly, we have self-actualization, which is essentially the need that we have to kind of feel like we're reaching our fullest potential. We're basically becoming a better version of ourselves. And so this is Maslow's work. Now, Herzberg essentially just kind of organizes it a little differently. And so everything from social over would essentially be a hygiene factor. And then everything from self-actualization to esteem would be a motivational factor. And so what Maslow argued is that we had to fulfill these needs kind of in progression, right? So physiological was first, then we fulfilled security, then social, then esteem, and then self-actualization. We couldn't jump around, obviously. And if one of the lower level needs became unmet, like security, for example, we would revert back to that particular need. Now, Herzberg simply applied it to an organizational setting, meaning that we could pursue any particular need we wish to do so, but they led to varying degrees of motivation. And so obviously we know now that those hygiene factors here wouldn't be the source of extreme levels of satisfaction, but if they're not there, right, the foundation, extreme dissatisfaction can be produced. Now, one of the important things for organizations, knowing that, obviously certain needs are more important than others, certain factors are more important to motivation than others, is really to focus on those factors that do lead to extreme levels of satisfaction and motivation, right? The whole idea is, how do we encourage the wanted behavior? Well, we have to motivate people to want to engage in that behavior. And so arguably, you would want to make sure that you have a fair amount of hygiene factors, right? These need to be present. Otherwise, you're going to have extreme dissatisfaction. So those have to be present. You can't shy away from them. But you would also want to make sure and incorporate some motivational factors as well. Because you simply do not want people to engage in compliance. You really want them to go above and beyond and hopefully stretch them in such a way that they would produce more than originally possible, or at least they felt was possible. And so according to Herzberg's theory, we would kind of add in some motivational factors, but not necessarily remove all of those hygiene factors in the workplace because we don't want to produce extreme levels of dissatisfaction. We want people to produce obviously more, which is very, very important. So allowing people the ability to have challenging work and advancement and recognition are by far more motivating than simply pay and benefits and job security as well. So we need to really focus on those motivational factors and that are really going to lead towards satisfaction and future performance, as opposed to simply focusing on hygiene factors, which may be more easy to implement. All right, those are usually the easiest things to do, but don't lead to long-lasting motivation.